We can have a roll call. Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioners Solon,
Present.
Ariola,
Present.
Canepa, Fugazi, Lackey, present. Vice Chair Zuber, Chair Craig Hensley, here. And then I do see Commissioner Marchand on the line, should be joining here shortly. While we wait to accept Commissioners, do we have anyone from Stanford?
I'm here, Suze Wallen, Mayor of Modesto.
Thank you. SJCOG? SJRTD?
Good morning, Ken Baxter.
Thank you. And Caltrans? Alrighty, and then one last call for Commissioner Marchand.
Marchand is present.
Thank you. All right, we have one.
Thank you very much. Now is the opportunity for public comment on any items not on the agenda. Anyone with public comment in the room? Anyone with public comment?
Seeing none online.
Seeing none, then we will move on to the next agenda item under our consent calendar. At this time, I would like to pull item 4.3 for a little more information. Do any of the other commission members have any items that they would like to pull for information? Okay, I'm seeing none. If I would ask our CEO, Mr. Orlando, to address 4.3.
Thank you, Chair. This one is a little unusual because we usually come to the board before we make a grant application, but because of the timing and fascinating in which the FIFA effort is coming together, we're coming to you after we've already submitted the application. The final decision on the grant application won't be made until next month at the SJRRC board meeting, so we don't know yet the outcome. We will calibrate our FIFA service plan based on our grant work, so we're hopeful we can get a portion of that grant request, and we would then, once we know the grant amount, we would then design a service plan to match the grant funding. We would come to the board in June with the service plan, and then because it will change our budget for the current fiscal year, we'll come with the budget amendment request as well. And so the board will have an opportunity to then hear what the plan is, approve the amount, see that the world for successful, learn how to deal with this, and understand what we're doing.
Okay, I appreciate that. So more to be heard.
More to be heard.
Okay,
Exactly.
Okay, if there are no other items to be pulled, I will ask for public comment on the consent calendar. Anything on the line?
Seeing none online.
You're on the line.
I'll move consent.
Seconded.
Just read my mind. So it moved in second, and can you please get a roll call vote?
Thank you, Commissioners Marchand,
Yes.
Solon,
Yes.
Ariola,
Yes.
Canepa,
Yes.
Fugazi,
Yes.
Lackey,
Yes.
Chair Craig Hensley.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Moving through this all very quickly. We're moving on to item 5, which is a presentation on the downtown Stockton multimodal transportation network and use action plan. Say that 3 times fast. So glad to have Huckabee, I assume, joining us here. Present.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lakita Huckabee, and I am a senior planner in the Division of Planning Grants and Programming. And as was said, I'm here to introduce the first speaker for item 5, Downtown Stockton Multimodal Transportation Network and Land Use Action Plan. The City of Stockton partnered with the Rail Commission, the San Joaquin Regional Transit District, and the San Joaquin Council of Governments to apply for and was awarded a Caltrans Sustainable Communities Competitive Grant to fund the Downtown Stockton Multimodal Transportation Network and Land Use Compatibility Action Plan, or Move Downtown, that you will learn about today. Move Downtown presents a recommended project list, phased implementation and funding strategies that encourage walking, biking, and transit use and facilitates smart growth and economic development in downtown Stockton. The project area for this action plan includes Cabral Station, used by both ACE and Gold Runner services, and the Gold Runner San Joaquin Street Station. This work is very important for bringing new passengers and to both ACE and Gold Runner services and making it easier for downtown Stockton residents to access our stations without cars. Move Downtown complements the Rail Commission's ongoing East Channel Street project that is implementing sidewalks and bikeways and adding safety features, as well as adding trees and landscaping for a visually pleasant station area that is safe for walking, biking to and from and around the East Station area. The East Channel Street project is planned for completion this summer. Finally, with that, I will introduce Jordan Peterson, formerly Rail Commission employee, but currently Executive Director of Redevelopment with the City of Stockton's Economic Development Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakita, and good morning, commissioners. My name is Jordan Peterson. I work for the City of Stockton's Economic Development Department. I will be brief because I do want to turn it over to Sam Charbini from Mark Thomas, who's going to do the bulk of the presentation. But what I will say is that this is truly a partnership from the beginning, working with Rail Commission staff, RTD, SJCOG, Caltrans, and this has to do with moving forward with transit-oriented development. We have a jewel of a station here, and we have the transit center, we have the San Joaquin Street station that serves the Gold Runner trains. And this is going to take time to implement. Transit-oriented development takes time, but it can only happen if we work together in partnership and really create a framework of vision that we all can work towards over the coming years and decades, really. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Sam Charbini, who's going to run through kind of a little bit of the background, what we all went through together in collaboration, and then talk about the end result of this plan. So thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Jordan, and good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, for this opportunity to present this presentation on the completion of the Move Downtown project. So as mentioned, my name is Sam Charbini. I'm a project manager with the planning and engineering firm Mark Thomas. And I've had the privilege to be supporting the city and the Rail Commission, of course, in this effort, dating back to actually the preparation of the grant application that secured the funding for this project. So I've had a very vested interest in this project myself for a few years now, and it's exciting to see the progress that's been made. I want to start by mentioning the project team that led this effort. So, of course, the city has been leading this effort since we kicked off this project back at the end of 2024. And that's included a partnership with a number of key partner agencies. So, of course, the Rail Commission being one of those partners, as well as San Joaquin RTD and the San Joaquin Council of Governments. And the consultant team, which I mentioned was led by Mark Thomas, also included support by PlaceWorks and Port City Marketing as well. Now, starting with a little bit of a background and overview of this project. The project, of course, as I mentioned, was funded by Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant. And this project was really trying to identify a comprehensive vision, bringing land use and transportation together in the same room to really create that holistic view and long-term planning that we want to see with these two disciplines working together. The project area is shown by the map on the screen here, which identifies the northern boundary of the study area by Oak Street, Center Street forming that western boundary, the Amtrak San Joaquin's rail corridor as the southern boundary, and then lastly Airport Way as that eastern boundary. So our focus was within the confines of this box project area, and a majority of our work would be confined to this area, but we did also consider the supporting land use transportation network that falls outside of this boundary. And the last thing I want to mention too is the key element of the 3 transit stations in this study area. So of course, Jordan mentioned the Cabral Station, the Downtown Transit Center, and the San Joaquin Street Amtrak Station. All were very vital to the development and focus of this plan. Now, the project process here highlights the overall scope of work and key deliverables that we sought to develop over the last 12 plus months. That included the review of existing conditions, understanding what the challenges are, what are the opportunities, and what are the concerns that the community has. Talking about the community, we did take on a robust community engagement campaign over the last 12 plus months, which included not only engaging with a multidisciplinary stakeholder working group, which included the partner agencies, CBOs, and a number of other partners, but also a public engagement campaign, which included 3 phases of outreach, which I will get a little bit more into the details of what that comprised of and some of the takeaways of that effort as well. We also completed a equity and displacement analysis. That was to really understand what are some of the equity considerations and constraints we're currently dealing with within downtown Stockton, and how can we mitigate some of the potential displacement that could come about from such efforts, and make sure that we are still preserving and providing opportunity for existing residents, businesses, and property owners to continue going about their lives and services within the study area. And then last couple of things I'll mention is the identification of recommended strategies. We did go through a comprehensive alternative analysis, again, which I will highlight a little bit more about. And that was supported by a benefit cost analysis to understand what kind of return on investment might we be looking at for the preferred alternative. And all of this was complemented by an implementation roadmap, which included an action and phasing plan, which again, we will get a little bit more into. Now, the project schedule I mentioned did kick off this project back at the end of calendar year 2024, and now we are at the tail end of it with these final presentations, including the one we're giving today, being a key part of that. So over the next few weeks, we were going to be wrapping up the project, tailed off by the presentation to City Council and the final adoption of this plan at that time. So I mentioned there was a robust community engagement campaign. So I want to now go over some of those results and takeaways for you to understand how that impacted the project and how it also influenced our recommendations overall. The results of that campaign included over 20 community events that we ultimately participated in, with over 1,200 participants that we got to engage with throughout that process, and multiple forms of engagement as well. 24 organizations were also partners and collaborators with us throughout that process, and included 400 feedback responses, which included a number of survey responses constituting for that total. And of those 1,200 participants that we engaged with, both in written format, dialogue, and verbal and written communication, we wanted to note that almost 1/3 of those participants identified that they do walk regularly within the project area in downtown Stockton. So that was nice to see, with another 15% also mentioning that they are regular users of transit, which included both rail commission services as well as RTD services too. Now, some takeaways that we wanted to highlight from this process as well, included from the land use strategy side of things, that the community did identify that promoting infill development and really looking to capitalize on underutilized site was a key priority that they identified, as well as activating streets and looking for opportunities for more ground floor retail and more presence on the street network. 85% of the community also identified that they're very much supportive of mobility hub features at all 3 transit stations that we mentioned are within the study area. And the last thing I'll mention too is that the repurposing of streets was something we wanted to also consider and get community feedback on. And we saw a very positive response on that, with the majority of respondents identifying that at the very least, with specific corridors we identified, including Weber Avenue and Hazelton Avenue, the community is very much supportive in considering repurposing those streets for other uses moving forward. Now, the alternatives analysis I mentioned, this is a slide will highlight the overall approach that we took to that process. We did start that process by identifying a toolbox of strategies, which identified all the various types of land use elements and transportation investments that could possibly be made, and take those and package them into 3 alternatives that are defined here. So those alternatives included alternative 1, which we called the foundation plan. And this was really identifying those near-term solutions, if you will think of them as more lower-hanging fruit that can be implemented more easily, readily, and probably have less funding constraints. And that would result in more targeted investments at key intersections, key sites for land use development. The focus plan was alternative 2, and that built on the initial alternative 1 and the foundation plan by then expanding this focus to more corridor level strategies, identifying transportation investments that might be appropriate along several intersections along a corridor, and then looking at that corridor more holistically, as well as identifying mixed use nodes for development and identifying other focus areas that can expand that land use investment. And then lastly, the full vision plan was alternative 3, and this was the most comprehensive alternative of this set of alternatives. And this looked at the most transformative and visionary long-term changes we can expect, looking at it at a more systemic level and making sure that all elements of the downtown core, all streets, all properties are eventually encapsulated into this process. So this would require the most intensive roadway reconfigurations and development opportunities, which were considered as part of this long-term full vision plan. I mentioned there was a benefit cost analysis that was also supporting this alternatives evaluation. So the benefit cost analysis was there to identify what kind of benefits, of course, we can expect with each of these alternatives, and conversely, what kind of costs might be associated with those same alternatives. And that would give us an understanding of, despite those benefits and costs, which alternative might give us the best return on investment in the long run for transforming the downtown core in Stockton and improving the transportation vision that we want to establish. So this looked at a number of things: system performance, benefit durability, and then the long-term economic influence. And altogether, these were packaged in a way that would identify a phased and implementation strategy, which we will get into shortly. The other thing I'll mention too is the alternatives evaluation then was built by identifying specific projects that we wanted to identify to build those long-term visions. And that required, a goals and objectives, which we identified early on in the process, which was reviewed by the stakeholder working group and adopted and approved through that process. We did assign weighting to those goals and objectives as well. And through developing these goals and objectives, we were able to turn them into prioritization criteria later on, which would help us screen those projects to identify the investments and opportunities that really rise to the top in being able to deliver and achieve the goals and objectives the group had identified. So through that process, a number of things were considered: cost, engineering complexity, coordination needs, and a number of other factors as well. And in doing so, these projects we defined really looked at specific corridors, station areas, focus areas, and we will get into some examples projects for the group to review at this time. And the last thing I'll note too, as part of our process, was developing cost estimates, a funding strategy, and a phasing plan. So that would help us, again, to deliver these improvements with all those other complementary pieces that might be needed to really have an effective implementation roadmap moving forward. Now on this slide, we've identified the top 5 ranked projects. There are many more projects, but again, this is just the top 5 we wanted to share for the group here today. They include the SR4 crossings project, which would evaluate a number of crossing opportunities at the SR4 highway corridor. There are several corridor projects that we identified, including one for El Dorado Street, Airport Way, and Weber Avenue. These corridor projects would include a number of investments and have different focuses depending on that corridor. Some might be more oriented toward transit investments. Some might be more oriented toward pedestrian or bicycle improvements. And then the last project I'll mention in this top 5 was the Downtown Transit Center access. We did identify a number of transit center access projects, and those were facilitating first last mile connectivity to stations and improving the accessibility of those stations for all users, particularly transit riders and of course bicyclists and pedestrians. Now going through just a few examples of those projects I mentioned. Not all of these are top 5 projects, but again, these are some of the projects we wanted to showcase for the group here today to give an idea of what types of projects and the scope of work we are looking at. So the one highlighted on the screen currently is the Cabral Station Access Project. As I mentioned, the focus of these projects, these access projects, is to bring more people to the station, make that transit rider experience more friendly, accessible, provide additional wayfinding opportunities, and really make sure all the information that a potential rider might need is accessible for them in the long term. The San Joaquin Street Corridor Project is another example we'll highlight here. I mentioned there's a number of corridor projects that we had defined. The San Joaquin Street Corridor Project was one that we really thought was important to showcase here because there are opportunities to really enhance connection between the downtown transit center and the San Joaquin Street Amtrak station. So this corridor project really prioritizes wayfinding, looking for enhancements to transit to make that a transit priority corridor, and a number of other safety treatments to improve the experience and information available for travelers to be able to access between these two stations and improve that connectivity. And for this slide, we also just want to visualize again what that corridor might look like in the long term. So this is a very basic cross street or a diagram that we had put together. And we did this for a number of corridor projects, but again, just to help visualize for the group what type of long-term vision we might be expecting for a corridor project like this. And there are a number of other examples that we highlighted in our report to help with that visualization effort. The downtown revitalization program is another project that we identified, and this is a program, so this is not a capital investment. And there were a number of non-capital programs or projects that we had identified as well. So this particular example is looking for opportunities to phase the revitalization of downtown and provide economic opportunity for the city and its partners in the long term, broken out by phases. So in the near term, looking for more activation opportunities. In the midterm, looking for more revitalization on a corridor-wide basis for various streets in the downtown core. And then in the long term, looking for other policy actions and other complementary pieces that can really further the economic development potential of downtown Stockton. Two more projects that we'll highlight here to round things out. One is the Mobility Hub Implementation Study, and the other is the Transportation Demand Management or TDM program. Both of these are building off of existing work that might be within the city, as well as supported by some of the studies and work completed by SJRRC. And so both of these efforts are really just trying to build on that, take them to future phases. For example, with the Mobility Hub Implementation Study, really taking that step to actually move towards implementation of Mobility Hub features at the 3 transit stations we've identified in the downtown core. So now just bring us to the end of today's discussion. For next steps, wanted to mention we are currently wrapping up our 30-day public review process for the draft report, which was released at the end of March. So at the end of this week, that 30-day public review will come to an end. And City Council adoption is currently slated for early June. So once in the coming weeks, we're just going to be updating the report with any feedback we've received over the last several weeks. And that City Council adoption date will mark the endpoint really for this project. So following the project, though, as I said, we don't want to let this plan just sit on a shelf, and that was very important to us from the get-go. We wanted to make sure we have an effective implementation roadmap moving forward, and that means as this project is complete, identifying those funding opportunities and capitalizing on the future phases of development that can be achieved. So with that, I would like to again thank the group for the opportunity to present today, and that concludes this morning's presentation.
I'm going to turn to Mayor Fugazi, this is your city, so I assume you've got questions, comments,
Yeah, more along the lines of comments. I'm looking around the room. I know Brian was here, maybe Autumn, David, but this is the homecoming for Jordan. But as I look across the room, I'm like, who was here when Jordan was here? So it's nice to see that he hasn't gone far and has continued the relationship with RTD. Revitalizing downtown is so important. Just had a ribbon cutting at Team Charter on Main Street yesterday where 2 gentlemen have purchased a number of properties, and they are just like, you know, we love downtown and we really want to see it thrive. And we don't understand why people have neglected it. And I had to say, you know, there's individuals who bought properties like yourself, but haven't put the investment in. They just bought the properties. And so, you know, we're having workforce housing that's going to be done in 2027 that will be on a vacant lot. We've got Code Stack Academy that will be done relatively soon, I hope. But the street improvements, I mean, you can see it on Center, you can see it on El Dorado, you can obviously see it on Minor. Can't wait till Channel is done. We do have a complete streets that's coming for Main Street. Sooner rather than later, I hope on that one as well. But having this plan, having this roadmap, when I think back to when there was the Open Windows project for downtown, there were these big visions of grandeur that I was super excited about and stood on the street with news crews and said, take a 360 view today. And I tell you, in 10 years, it will be very different. It's been 10 years. But we are squeaking along, and it would not be possible without the partnership. City of Stockton cannot do it alone. And having, you know, many other agencies being part of that vision, being part of that process, we're just so grateful because we have a beautiful city. And we want people to come here, spend time here, live downtown. You know, have their kids go to school downtown, catch the train to go, you know, work where they need to, catch RTD to get where they need to go. So I had already messaged Jackie saying, I really want a copy of this. I know it's coming before council, but I've been, you know, resounding support of this, and I'm looking forward to the future. So, thank you. Comments? Yes.
There's no question. So did you guys look into Oak Street and Park Street being one ways? Making them two ways would be very effective, and I think opening corridors more. So did that come up in conversation?
We did at a very high level look at the configuration of one-way streets and two-way streets, although I know the city also has other plans and.
It's starting tomorrow, Paul.
Yeah, there are other plans the city has that are evaluating that in more detail than we did at this study. So as part of our plan, we don't have specific recommendations for those lane reconfigurations, but I believe that work is going to be done by other documents.
From Center going to Pershing, it starts tomorrow, where we're gonna be going down to one lane, having bike lanes on either side to slow it down. Oak, it will be after we do Park. So, and Jordan's nodding his head. I'm not telling lies.
Marshan, have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I'm not familiar with the term white boxing. What is that?
Oh, sorry, was the.
Yeah, I can handle that one. So the idea of white boxing is you would take like a vacant ground level commercial space and you kind of just do the bare minimum to make it so it doesn't look like a completely vacant, dilapidated space. So you kind of just, so it could be like a showcase for someone who makes clothing or someone who does art. So you kind of just white box it, do bare minimum, kind of put up walls to cover up the fact that the rest of the building's still vacant.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So we did a similar thing in our downtown. We had artists come in and paint the windows and doing small mini murals to brighten the downtown. And that was one of the first steps that we did to our revitalization. So, okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much. I wasn't familiar with the term.
Thank you.
I would like to comment on what Mayor Bugazi commented on workforce housing. Transit-oriented development is really a big thing for me, so I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more. You have about 20% of your criteria and some of your long-term planning relative to land uses. So are you looking at certain areas that might be retail below and housing above? How are you looking at housing options? Because move downtown isn't just about moving around downtown. I think we all want to see residents find their way downtown.
Yeah, thank you for that question. You caught on the fact that it was kind of a double entendre, double meaning move downtown. So this is obviously a transportation plan. So it's looking at the transit assets. The city is undergoing a downtown master plan that is going to build off of this work. It's going to use the existing conditions analysis. It is well underway in terms of doing stakeholder interviews. And that's where we're going to try to look at how are we going to actually activate individual parcels. Old City Hall we're moving out of Old City Hall. City owns the Wells Fargo building. They have the permit center that's now vacant. So we're thinking about how do we actually activate it? How do we identify the infrastructure constraints? Because it's a chicken and an egg. You can't have the housing if you don't have the utilities that can support the housing. So that's what we are looking at in terms of actually activating the space. This is kind of just looking at the land use potential and the transportation network and where people are living and going. But this downtown master plan is where we're going to get into the weeds and try to activate specific sites.
This might be more of a question for the mayor, but how about your housing element? Is that identifying downtown as an opportunity for new housing?
Yes, and so we've had a number of projects. We put out a NOFA, and there were 3 of them that were for downtown development. Part of that, though, has to do with, like you said, commercial. We want to be supportive of commercial. So that's why I said workforce housing, because if you're at 30% AMI, how much discretionary funds do you have to go out and shop and eat and do things in those businesses that will keep them in operation? So that's why I've been that push on that workforce housing piece. But we have a project not too far from here that has the bottom as commercial and it's undeveloped, but there is housing all on top of it. If you go to the Cal Weber project, they have commercial on the bottom and they have residential on top. I think there's a barber shop on the bottom. There's a convenience store. I think there's a restaurant. There are things there. But that is the direction we would like to go in. But businesses won't come if they don't have the people to support it.
And I think that's the chicken and the egg. Do you do the transportation improvements first, or do you do the housing, but you can't get the residents if you don't have the transportation and commercial enterprises. So, you know, I look forward to you guys figuring this all out. All right, thank you. Any public comment on this item?
Seeing none online.
None online, any in the room? None. This was a presentation, so, good luck going forward. We look forward to council's, final adoption. So, it's great. All right, moving on to the next item, we have a public hearing, as a increase of 10%. So I think we have a presentation and then we will open this up.
Yes. All right. All right, morning, Chair, good morning, Commissioners. So, next slide, please. So today we're coming to open a public hearing regarding the fare increase, but just in case someone missed my planning presentation April 3rd, I just want to give a quick summary of kind of what that was about, just so someone doesn't think we're just jumping right into public comment. They actually spoke about this and had great board interaction. So in that presentation, I kind of covered the background of the fare increase and how we haven't had one since 2019. Talked about how prior to that, I think from public comment feedback that we had biannual fare increases at small incremental rates, because that was again feedback from the riders. I talked about how we suspended that from 2019. Also in 2019, we also did like a fare policy that I'll touch upon as we move on. But we suspended the fares due to obviously the pandemic. And then it's been kind of a slow with ridership. We haven't really done any more fare increases from that. And then it also ties into the new ticketing system that we're putting in, which I'm excited that we started piloting that this week at Cabral. And so with all those things and not having paper tickets that are pre-printed with prices on it, and then being able to go to a system that those aren't printed on, it's going to allow for a smoother transition these next for July 1st. Then we talked about how we assess the fares or assess fare increase. And again, with the fare policy, we touched upon financial stability, equity, customer experience, and ridership. And so those are the focuses. And obviously one of the bigger things being, one of the factors since then was the CPI increase since the last fare increase, which is 23%. And so that brought the item this year and touch upon the fare increase schedule, which I'll show on the next slide. Sorry. So here's our schedule. Again, presented at the April 3rd meeting, kind of an information about the fare increase, how we came to that, be able to implement, bring it to you for July 1st implementation. Since that board meeting, we've coordinated with Alameda County CTC, Alameda County CTC, as well as Santa Clara VTA to seek their approvals as part of the cooperative service agreement. And we've also called our Title VI program. We've posted on April 15th at our stations, in the newspapers, social media, the mobile app in English and Spanish about today's public comment period to open, which leads us to today. We've already received 11 public comments, so we'll be submitting those in a summary on your June 5th item. So also from that meeting, I've had some follow-up items, so I kind of want to bring that back to you and let you know I kind of bring that information. And so Commissioner Salwan asked kind of what's the impact of each of the fare media or each of the ticket types. And so here you can see I showed kind of took like an average of all the pricing for July 1st for adult fares as well as discount fares. And then what the impact will be July 1st in 2027 to both of those kind of areas. One thing I do want to note though is our fare chart really favors people who ride multiple rides, such as the monthly to 10 trips compared to a one-way. So I just did some to kind of show you that. I did some math and so one way a popular ticket is our Light Through Manteca to Great America, and that one way is $14.50. So 10 of those would be $145. That 10 trip we sell it for $115. So there's already, we definitely want to implement or definitely favor those who ride us very often. Incentive to ride us often. And then another thing I want to touch upon was comments from Commissioner Ariola and Fugazi regarding the Community Assistance Program. So that is an active 42 passengers are enrolled. It starts July 1st and it ends July 30th, and they have to reapply for re-enrollment. So that is an active 42 passengers that actively use that program today. And with that, happy to take any questions.
Do I need to do the public hearing first or do you need questions? I thought you had.
Here we go. Yeah, so questions and then we can go ahead and open the public.
Okay, so any questions from commissioners? Okay, just one question I had, or more a comment than question on the assistance program I think along with the fare increase, it might be a good idea to push that so that some people who don't even really realize that that program is available. Know that program is available, because I know if you get rate increase, I can't afford another $20 a month type of thing. So we want to find out if there's really some needy users out there use that supplementary assistance. So just with that, I will go ahead and open the public hearing period. Do we have any public comments online?
Seeing none online.
Do we have any public comments in the room? Seeing none in the room, I will leave it open because we are closing this on June 5th.
But we're continuing the public hearing until June 5th.
Okay, so we'll continue the public hearing through June 5th, at which point the commission will take action on these fare increases.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question. When do we hear the 11 people wrote notes in?
That'll be summarized in the June 5th. It'll be.
Thank you. All right, so don't see there being any further action on this. Okay, we've taken care of that. So, all right, moving on. Fiscal year 26-27 work program preview informational items. So, who we got is in.
So I'll be kicking off this item, there, and there'll be multiple presentations, so.
Looks like they're all queued up there.
A lot of folks, as we go to the first slide, and we'll get started. So, okay, so as many of the commissioners know, and maybe for some of the new members, our annual work plan is a pretty comprehensive document. So it not only lays out the budget for VA service itself, but for the Rail Commission, and then also because the Rail Commission serves as the managing agency for the San Juan Kings Joint Powers Authority, it includes the work of that budget as well, along with our rail services, so the maintenance work you see over at the rail maintenance facility in Stockton, that budget as well. So it's a very comprehensive document. Today is the first of 3 times the commission will hear the document. Today is a narrative presentation around the specific areas included in the document. You're not going to see a lot of numbers today. This is more about what we're doing. And then next month, you'll get the preliminary full draft of the document, and then in July, you'll approve the work program, which is the narrative that we'll go through today, along with the budgets and for all those entities that I'm talking about. So that's just a little bit of a primer on what you're going to see in the coming meetings. Today is really our kickoff to describe the work program and what's included. There was a lot of effort this year to add an element to the work program. I kicked this off as a part of me joining the agency, and the goal here was really to recognize that the commission is doing a lot of things, all those things I just talked about, and there was a strong need for us to focus on those things that are most important, and to really define for the agency how we move those things forward, and the things that really impact our customers and our riders most, and the things that impact our stakeholders the most. And so what you see here, we haven't decided yet if we're going to call this a flower or a pinwheel or what we're going to call this, but the graphic here is meant to articulate the outcome of that process. So it was a strategic planning process that we went through agency-wide. We had, I think it was 7 or 8 long meetings to do this, and this is the product of that meeting. And so this is meant to encapsulate the work that we're doing and to define our priorities. So I'll walk through this quickly, but as we go through the work program, you'll see this filtered throughout the work program, because this is providing, as it's defined, the strategic framework for what we're doing. So at the core of it all is service quality, and really that is I like to say, the table stakes for what we do. It's the most important thing. And so there are a lot of elements within the work program that are meant to drive service quality. So that's everything from stabilizing and strengthening our service reliability, optimizing our core service, making sure that we're putting the best, most effective service out there. And then of course, focus on safety. So safety is always a top priority and central to everything we do. And so there are a number of safety initiatives that you see within the work program. In addition to that, as you know, we are, as part of the commission's strategic effort, working to expand our services. And this is true for not only the ACE service, but also the Gold Runner service. The Valley Road program is something that is a very high priority for the commission. So there's a lot of effort within the work program around the Valley Road program, but also in terms of making sure that we not only execute the capital projects within the program, but also to make sure we prepare our operations to start that new service and to expand the service operations, new stations, new services, make sure we're staffed right, we have operational plans in place, all of the things we need to do to prepare for expansion. And along with that, we're going to be serving new markets. So a lot of external outreach to make sure the new markets we're in are aware of, hey, what's this purple train? Kind of come to a place it's not come before. So to doing the groundwork so that when we're ready to launch that new service, the folks know who we are and why we're there. All of this gets you to the bottom right corner, which is scale business processes. This was something that came up through the strategic planning processes where the team recognized that the infrastructure, the policies, the procedures, the things that guide the work we do every day has served the agency really well at this point, but we need to level it up to get to the next stage of the agency's growth. And so there's a series of initiatives here, everything from modernizing our existing tools and policies and procedures, improving our internal communications, and really investing in organizational development. And the intent with this strategic goal is to ensure that our agency as a whole is ready to meet the moment for this expansion, and that everything we're doing internally can scale to do that. So that's what this strategic goal is about. And then the final area, and it shouldn't be last, it should be first, but we put it last here, is maintain fiscal stability. We can't do any of the other three things unless we have a solid fiscal structure. We've had that historically, but as you'll see as we walk through the work program, probably more when we get to next month's meeting. Our situation is evolving and changing. The funding that we relied on is becoming constrained. One-time funding is expiring, and so our fiscal stability is going to become a really important strategic initiative for the agency. The way we've funded the agency to date has worked extremely well. We're going to have to be strategic how we do that going forward because the situation is changing. So there's a number of things from executing a sound business strategy, making sure we're operating efficiently, diversifying our funding streams. The funding streams that have funded the operation to date has served us well, but we're going to have to find new sources of funding. We're entering new markets, we're serving new parts of the region, and we're going to have to diversify our funding sources to meet our operational needs. And then improving organizational efficiencies. You'll see when you see the budget numbers next month that everything's getting more expensive. This is not just true for us; it's true for the overall economy. And so, as our expenses or as our revenue picture changes, some of that is beyond our control, but what we can control is to a large part our expenses. And so, we're working very hard to make sure our operations are operating efficiently, and where we can find efficiencies, where we can find savings, we're going through, we're identifying those and implementing. So you'll see the start of that within the initiative budget that you go through. Next slide, please. So this is the framework of the document itself. When you get the draft, this is the structure. It'll be built in. And what we're going to do now is just walk through each of the sections. The particular team member who's leading that section will talk about it, and we'll be brief, but just to give you an idea when we go to the document what we're seeing. So with that, we'll start with operations with me.
Thank you. Good morning, Nathan Alaska, Operations Superintendent. So operations for the next fiscal year will look as they do today. We'll continue running our 4 daily round trips between Stockton and San Jose. We have AM service departing Stockton a little after 4 in the morning up until 7:30 in the morning, and then return trips from San Jose start a little after 2 p.m. And then continue until about 5:30 in the evening. As service has increased or ridership has increased for the service, we've been able to expand our consist. We're currently running 7-car consist on the majority of our trains. And we do have the ability to expand those as ridership demands. To touch on some of the major operational costs for the service, as you may know, ACE operates on track that is owned by both Union Pacific and Caltrain. They're responsible for maintaining the track and signal infrastructure for our corridor. We have what's called the trackage rights agreements with those entities that allows us to operate on their line. And in exchange, we pay them an annual capitalized maintenance fee, as well as a per mile train fee to cover the routine maintenance and dispatching service that the railroads provide. In addition to that, we have an operations and maintenance agreement with Transit America Services. They provide the operating crews for the trains, as well as all of the admin and support, management support needed to support the employees that operate and run the service. As a commuter service, on-time performance is very important to the Rail Commission. We've set a standard of 90%, a goal of 90% for on-time performance, and we have a strong historical track record of meeting that goal. We work closely with our operating partners anytime we dip below that goal to address any systemic issues affecting on-time performance to get back on track. Switching over to the equipment side of the operations, I mentioned that operations and maintenance agreement that we have with Transit America Services. They also provide the employees that do all of the maintenance on the ACE fleet, both the locomotives and the coaches. And this is in order to keep the fleet in a good state of repair and provide a very safe, clean, and reliable service for our passengers. As part of that initiative, we are towards the tail end of a midlife overhaul for our older cars in the fleet. This covers things like repainting and rebranding the exterior of the trains to match the more modern paint scheme that we have for our fleet, as well as the branding that we have on the exterior of the trains. It also covers adding interior information displays to those older cars, as well as cameras, and then repairing some of the older upholstery and flooring of those cars and updating the interior lighting of the cars as well. Switching over to safety and security, this remains the top priority for the Rail Commission always. Our crews, in order to protect our passengers and our employees, regularly undergo recertification in their respective crafts. They're regularly audited by both Rail Commission staff, contracted staff, FRA, and even external partners to ensure that they're in compliance with all of the latest rules and regulations. We also partner with Union Pacific to ensure that our tracks are regularly inspected, especially ahead of inclement weather, to ensure the safe passage of our trains to the extent possible. All of our onboard crews, including our agency staff and our contracted staff, regularly undergo de-escalation training to help diffuse and resolve any situations that they may face aboard the trains or within our stations. And we've recently added human trafficking awareness training as well. As you know, it's a very hot topic in society as a whole. And so we're looking to add that to this year to improve our response once we identify those situations. In regards to emergency preparedness, the agency recently held an internal tabletop exercise to gauge and test our own internal response and coordination to any major incidents that the service may face. This year, we'll be looking to expand that to include some of our external partners, the host railroads, to improve our interagency coordination in regards to emergencies. This year, we'll also be doing our E-Prep drill, our biannual E-Prep drill, which involves inviting out local first responders and law enforcement to participate in drills aboard the equipment, enabling them to get familiar with our equipment so that they can take that back to their respective staff so they can better respond to any emergencies involving our service. And then when it comes to our fixed assets, we'll also be looking to improve our security at our rail maintenance facility here in Stockton, looking to add a guard booth to that facility to provide stricter access control to the facility, and then as well adding some CCTV cameras both to the RMF and to the stations as needed. And with that, I'll pass it on to our next section.
Good morning. So I'm Terry Pace, Connecting Services Manager. So the H shuttle program, our H shuttle routes that operate out of Santa Clara is the core of our connecting services. Getting riders to and from the train to major job centers across Silicon Valley. We also rely on our relationships with Transit Connections, our regional partners, get our riders to and from the tracks. 30% of our riders rely on these first and last mile connections, and they are essential in keeping the ridership strong and growing. Our big focus this year is going to be on the transition. So we are transitioning the service. We will have direct oversight, and it's going to help us improve performance, accountability, and help us drive our service quality. It's also going to allow us to make smarter data-driven decisions, adjustments, will improve reliability, and it'll just make the overall rider experience better. And we're still on track for July 1st, 2027. And now on to our next section, passenger experience and marketing.
Good morning, I'm Mariah Bryant. I'm the Senior Marketing Coordinator and a part of the Passenger Experience and Marketing team. So included in the work program, we're going to talk about how we have been utilizing better tracking performance, analyzing delays, and forecasting demand in order to help us make smarter decisions and terms of planning fares and long-term ridership growth. On the marketing side, we're going to be focusing on commuters, employer engagement, and corridor awareness, and still leveraging our events and using digital ads, email marketing in our future loyalty program to ensure increased ridership. Partnerships will continue to be a big part of our strategy. We're expanding our relationships with employers, real estate partners, regional agencies, and we're also strengthening our coordination with our media and community groups. And of course, we're keeping the passenger experience front and center, so ensuring that we have more passenger appreciation events, more streamlined communication, as well as improvements on Wi-Fi on board. For ACE performance and ridership revenue, currently for fiscal year 25-26, we are projected to grow to 10.8% in ridership and a 4.65% in revenue. Looking ahead to fiscal year 26-27, we are expected to see 985,000 riders, so that's a 5% growth, and then a 7.7 million in revenue for 7% growth. Most of the revenue is coming from pricing, as you did mention the fare increase, as well as seasonality, so including early summer and spring where we see the most ridership, and we see a softer ridership within the winter. So some highlights from last year, we were able to expand our marketing channels. So we focused a lot on digital, but we also introduced a lot of out of home, so our billboards that you see. And we've also introduced a new channel for ACE specifically, which is LinkedIn, and starting paid media there. Our partnership with Levi Stadium was something that really helped us promote special trains and boost event ridership, with that ridership almost doubling from last year. Email and marketing campaigns have also helped boost ridership, as well as our mobile app to help increase visibility and provide strong rider communication. Like I mentioned earlier, our focus again is to increase brand visibility, grow ridership, and strengthen our partnerships. We're going to continue to expand our digital and out-of-home advertising, primarily focusing on our efforts on LinkedIn, because that is where a lot of businesses and employers are. And then also refreshing onboard engagement, so our onboard screens, posters, and station signage that we currently have. As far as targeted growth, so majority of our campaigns are focused right now on Central Valley to Silicon Valley, but we are putting a lot of emphasis on Central Valley to Tri-Valley community. And so we will have employer outreach as well as geo-targeted campaigns to help us reach that specific audience. And again, we are going to continue to explore our loyalty program to encourage repeat and also new ridership. That's it for me. I will pass it over to capital programs.
Well, good morning. David LaPerry, Deputy Executive Director for the agency. I'm representing the capital team this morning. As we look at the capital program for FY 26-27, really our focus is sort of in two distinct areas. One is on the expanding services side. So we're really focusing on the direction that you provided to staff related to the Valley Rail program, moving that forward. But we cannot forget that we operate service today. So there are a series of projects that are improving the current A service as well as the Gold Runner service. As Chris mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, your work program includes the capital budget for all of the enterprises underneath your oversight. So you'll see tables related to shared programs like Valley Rail, distinct programs for the Rail Commission, ACE, as well as SJJPA or the Gold Runner service. So you'll see all of those included. I'm going to walk through just a few highlights of the capital program and sort of where we're headed in the upcoming year. So starting with SJJPA, what our focus is on the 2028 outcomes of the Valley Rail program, and specifically the project that you see here on this slide, a new station in Oakley that will be going into construction, a station in Madera that will be going into construction, as well as Lake to Escalon, which is a small track project that's getting completed. These are about enhancing current service for Gold Runner riders, as well as preparing Gold Runner for an 8th round trip in the future. On the ACE side, we're focusing again on the direction you provided staff related to the Valley Rail program, prioritizing service delivery in the northern part of the Valley Rail program, as well as service development and grant opportunities in the south. So really focusing efforts on all of the 3 stations that are included in that initial 2031 outcome, as well as the track projects related to that, including a track project down in the Bay Area, the Newark Albury siding, which is a key project for the Rail Commission, as that is what unlocks the 5th round trip for ACE. This is a slide that we have been sharing with you related to, well, what should you expect in these capital projects over the course of this is calendar year 26 and calendar year 27, but just to give you a sense, in 26, several projects completing design, as well as starting construction. You can see one project completing construction. In 27, you see again additional invitations for bid, projects going into construction, and projects completing construction as well. And we'll continue to show you this sort of advancement milestone map as we go through the year, give you updates as well as the years beyond this as well. When you look at the minor capital side, though it's minor in the sense that the dollar amount might be lower than some of the major projects, and perhaps the duration of that project is shorter, but these really do have a high impact for our riders. So things like pre-painting the ticket kiosk may seem like a small thing, but really when you liven up that ticket kiosk and the passengers notice that, they respond to that. Improving some of the landscaping here at Cabral, really important to passengers who are arriving here. That will also tie in nicely with the Channel Street improvements. On the authority side, we're working on some security improvements at the Hanford station, as well as taking the Gold Runner brand, which was adopted in this fiscal year, and then translating that into the throughway bus corridor. So these are some smaller projects that are going to be accomplished, but really do have high impact for the passenger. And with that, I'll hand it off to planning, grants, and programming.
Good morning, I'm Momo Tamaoki. I'm the Deputy Director of Planning, Grants, and Programming. So for our department, our primary focus for next fiscal year is to apply for additional grants, such as Build, Tracy, Pet State Partnership, TERSIP, SB1 program for capital needs that we have, and I-580 toll revenues, TFCA, additional FTA grants, and local funds for operational needs for our existing service as well as the Valley Rail expansion. This effort aligns really well with the strategic focus that Tris was mentioning earlier for us to really diversify funding sources for our agency. Also to prepare for our expansion, we will continue our service planning efforts for the short, mid, and long-term Valley Rail expansion for both ACE and Gold Runner services. We have a couple of studies lined up for next fiscal year, such as Valley Rail service planning efforts for both services and through a bus study for the Gold Runner side. Regional coordination is also another key element of our work to ensure external awareness for our service and to build and maintain relationships and partnerships that we have with our partners. So we've got a few major efforts coming up, such as working on the short-range transit plan for MTC. We will continue to work on the transit-oriented development through San Joaquin Valley Network Integration Study that we are leading. And we'll also continue to participate in the planning efforts led by our partners as well. by attending ongoing meetings that they host or having engaged discussions and collaboration with key partner agencies, including, but are not limited to, various MPOs, Caltrans, FTA, FRA, Valley Link, High Speed Rail, BTA, and cities. We are also continuing our work for grants and compliance to execute some business strategies. And I am happy to report that we were successful implementing the grants management system. The procurement of this system was approved by the board about 2 years ago. And we worked really hard with the vendor to build this system to meet our needs for the last 2 years. With this new system being implemented, we are able to modernize our existing tools so we can even improve our grants and financial management. So for the next fiscal year, we will enter all grants information that currently exists on various spreadsheets into this one system. So reporting and tracking can be automated. That concludes our department's plan for next year, and the next section will be rail support services and other activities.
Good morning, Brian Schmidt, Director of Equipment Services. So I'm biased. This is probably the best section you're gonna have in this. I'm serious. Because not only this board, but all previous boards have been so supportive of staff and what we do and set very high standards for us on cleanliness, service, providing service. It's really allowed us to become entrepreneurs as an agency. As you can see, the projects here, working with our provider, our maintainer, Tazzy. The high standards on the maintenance side has had other agencies come to us and ask us, hey, can you do work for us? For example, the state provided mechanical services, Caltrans, Capital Corridor approached the San Joaquin JPA, who is, we are the magic agency for it, said, you guys have great mechanical standards. Your maintenance is high level. Would you consider taking on the work for us? And this board said, yeah, we can do that. We work with Tazzy. They're doing a great job. Transition occurred in fully on August 1st. We got some bumps, we're working through it. Caltrans also came back and said, we need to do a truck overhaul program. We haven't done it in 15 years. Think your agency can do that? Work with Tazzy? Yeah, we can do that. We're in a process of overhauling 88 trucks and other things on there, other components. We're looking at having that done of all 88 by 2030. So it's exciting to see everything come in and out, the standards. The newest thing from the state is they're asked us to manage their modernization program for the existing bi-levels. They're over 30 years old, which is basically a midlife overhaul, but like we're doing with ACE. We're redoing the interiors, getting them cleaned up, new LED lighting, potentially new HVAC systems, looking on the outside, what we do on the outside for the color schemes, working with marketing and folks. So that's really exciting. That's going to be about a 7-8 year program, and just for the entire program, we're probably looking at about $150 million for those 51 vehicles where Caltrans is looking at first to work on. We'll be taking out all the procurements, contracting things out. Tazzy may not be able to have the expertise. We'll contract out for the contractor to come and do the work. Tazzy can do what they can do at the shop. So that's an exciting thing coming up here in the next fiscal year. And then the last thing we're doing is the venture cars, the new state-owned procurement they did. We're through Caltrans, we are accepting and commissioning all 49 of the venture cars. We have 4 cars left to accept. So we're looking at having those accepted by the end of this calendar year. Having some issues with tables delaminating, but those are coming to conclusion. So hopefully that'll be finished by early 2027. And the best thing about this, all the projects are fully state funded. So nothing comes out of the local coffers, and staff time is fully paid for when we work on this. So let me get this right. And now I'm going to turn it over to the Rail Academy of Central California.
Good morning, board members. My name is Megan Craig. I'm the Rail Services Coordinator, and I'm responsible for oversight of the Rail Academy of Central California. which is the Rail Commission's Railroad Operations Workforce Development Program. The Rail Academy began in 2024 to provide education, hands-on training to high school students and to adults in our region, prepare individuals for careers in the rail industry, and to create a workforce pipeline for jobs that will be created with the Valley Rail expansion. In fiscal year 26-27, Rail Commission staff will continue the curriculum development process with San Joaquin Delta College for a future rail maintenance and mechanical program. And the draft curriculum has been reviewed by our industry partners and the FRA. And the rail maintenance and mechanical program will be included in the fall 2027 Delta College course catalog. This fiscal year, the Rail Academy received the FRA PRISI and state TIRSA grant funding obligations for operations costs. And in fiscal year 26-27, Rail Commission staff will continue to expend these costs towards staffing and faculty labor costs, marketing and outreach efforts, and supplies and equipment dedicated to support classroom learning, on-ground training, and graduation. And Rail Commission staff will bring a comprehensive Rail Academy update to the July Rail Commission board meeting. Now we're going to move on to talk about the structure of the budget.
All right, morning again. Nick Perez, Manager of Fiscal Services. Apologies, Brian, I think we need to make this symbol a star, not a circle. So kind of like Chris talked about, we'll be bringing you tables in the June 5th meeting. In the past, you would see the commission and A's combined, and then we would compare there. Obviously, with everything we've talked about and how much we've grown, it's more elaborate. We're going to be bringing 5 budget tables to you. Each of these sections having their own, the commission, ACE, and then the Gold Runner service, as well as the rail sports services and track C. So you'll be approving 5 budget tables. With that being kind of explained the structure, right? The commission is a JPA. It's considered a special district in the state of California. It is the owner and managing agency of ACE, and it is also the managing agency of the Gold Runner, which was awarded by the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority. And then we also have the rail support services, which is Brian's side of the equipment services that allows us to do the wheel truing and all those services that he does kind of broken out so we can have comparatives, as well as track C kind of managing their own budget. So what the commission staff does, right, is we do all the administrative work for these buckets, right? Instead of needing to have a single person in each of these and, administrative costs, as Chris kind of said, efficiency and being, cutting kind of costs and being like really efficient. All of us work for all of these different buckets and provide service from that. And as Brian says, we can get our time from those other buckets of paper for our time instead of fully burning the commission with that. And so with that, I'll pass it back to Chris.
Okay, thank you for hearing that. I really, I think it's not only important for you to see what we're doing, but also to hear from the folks who are doing the work, the talented group of people who are actually getting the stuff done. So that was a lot of gymnastics there, moving people up and off the dais, but it was very important that you see who's doing these things and who's executing these programs. As a kind of a table setter to our meeting next month, I wanted to provide a little bit of context for the budget you're going to see. And so we call this our operating environment. When I say operating environment, I don't mean this physical change. I mean, the environment in which the commission is living in right now, everything that we're doing. What Nick described, our budget and our operation are complex. We have 5 budgets that all relate to each other. The way I think about this is we operate. So we operate Gold Runner service through the JPA and the ACE service. We maintain not only our ACE fleet, but also the state-owned fleet. And with Valley Rail, we build. So those are the 3 things that we do. And so all of those things have unique characteristics and contribute to our budget outlook. It's an interesting time for the transit industry and for the world we live in. We've all seen the headlines of not only from our agri region and what the industry is facing, but really all over the state. We were, I'll talk later in the update. We were at the Commuter Rail Coalition, California Commuter Rail, Passenger Rail Coalition meeting yesterday, and hearing from similar agencies around the state. And every agency is facing the same thing. Our costs of services, our funding, all under constraint. And so, wanted to provide a little bit of context for that. So when we see the budget tables next week, we'll have some understanding of where we are. At the base of this, our core services, meaning the ACE, is staying stable. So we're providing essentially the same level of service we have. It's been consistent. We're continually making incremental growth in our ridership and our revenue, which is very good and a positive thing for the agency. However, even though we're keeping those service levels consistent, our expenses are going up. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. This is somewhat driven by general inflation, cost of labor, cost of all the things that go into it. As we all know, fuel costs are now going to be a big contributor. And so all the things that go into the services are just getting more expensive. And so even though our service levels are staying stable, the cost to operate that service is getting more expensive. So while we have some ability to find efficiencies, the cost of those services to a large extent are increasing beyond something we can control, right? And so that's part of the part. At the same time, our revenues is the other side of the ledger, right? So our revenues overall are growing. Our fare revenue and our revenue in general are remaining stable. You can see because our ridership is growing incrementally, our fare revenue is also growing incrementally. The process we're going through now with fare increase will add to the fare revenue, but fare revenue makes up a small portion of our overall revenue picture. And so the other sources, which is sort of a revenue stew, if you will, it comes from a lot of different places. Many of those sources are becoming constrained. You see on the far right there, the funding. So a couple of things, dynamics are coming into play this year. We have some changes in the federal funding that we're getting, so the formula funding. So that funding is worked through regionally. So we're seeing some new constraints and some new changes in how those organized aerial allocations are being done. And so that's impacting us. We also have, there were a number of funding sources that were temporary in nature. So these were funding sources put in place during and after COVID, both at the federal level and at the state level, which have now expired. And so we're feeling that effect in this budget year because those funding sources that we use to support our budget are ending. And so that's going to impact us. And then just generally in the funding, we have more services, applying for and competing for the same cost of funding that we traditionally access. And so we have more books at the table. From a network standpoint, that's a great thing because those are the first last mile connection, new services, those things that we all love to see. But they're also all tapping the same funding sources that we're tapping. And so all of these factors are playing into our budget picture. There's a reason when we looked at our pinwheel or our flower, whatever we want, whatever term we're using, that we had fiscal financial stability, we have improved business process, we have those things on our strategic outlook because those are the things that we're going to need to do to maintain the services, to build the new capital projects, to do all the things we need to be successful. And so with that, we'll take questions. Oh wait, I want to do one more slide. Sorry, next slide. So here's the process. So today you got the preview. At your June 5th meeting, you will get the full operating budget and workflow programs. So you'll see all the tables that Nick referred to. And then July 5th or the July meeting, we'll do final adoption of work program and budget based on what's feedback. So plenty of time to still give us input, to ask questions. This is sort of the first round of 3 times we'll see budget. So that was a lot, but thank you for bearing with us and having the questions.
I appreciate it. Thanks to your team putting them together, and it is a good idea for us to see where all the moving parts are. I prefer pinwheel because it moves versus flower, which just sits there. So anytime. Oh, okay.
And we'll play pretty easily.
It's a whole marketing thing there. Yeah, okay. I'll turn to our commissioners here. Questions, comments, anything that strikes you as part of the work program? I'll tell you this, small but mighty is the words that came to mind with me. The fact that we have so many of our partners looking, and Brian, of course, wants to be the star. Looking at us for handling maintenance means that our reputation statewide, we are working with Caltrans in particular, is very well regarded. So I commend the team, it takes the entire team to make Brian a star apparently. So thank you for that. And it is a great way for us to bring revenue that allows us to keep on such a great team. So that's one thing. I will make one comment. I know this is a work program for the staff and the organization. I think in the strategic framework as that develops through, we need to take advantage of these individuals because the reality is we go to One Voice. I go to Cal Cities. There's also the counties, organizations that we all have a role to play. And we have some congressional members. It's on transportation. We have the opportunity, as I've done in the past, when we were trying to get funding for track, to talk to a lot of organizations beyond our congressional members when we go to DC. So I think it's important to work into that framework. The advocacy role we're supposed to play to assist and support your educational efforts with our elected officials and our administration staff, because we often, One Voice, be sitting with administration staff. It's not just elected members. So anything that we can do to support and help and build on the successful track record that we've got, give us guidance and we will be there to support you. So somehow or another, work your little commission members into your strategic framework.
Really appreciate you making that point. That diversified funding, really is a team effort. Not only our team, but we do need the support of the commissioners to do that, because that it does require us to have a broader conversation with other partners, other stakeholders, and you're helping that with you very much appreciated.
Okay, give us the advocacy agenda make sure it doesn't.
One question.
Yes, sir.
So then, sure, what are we losing? Are you gonna show that in the budget and which grants are going away and which grants are opening up? And so the shortfall, or how are you gonna present?
Yeah, we'll walk through the budget tables in the next meeting. We're working hard to be efficient and not avoid the losing part. So that's what we'll present. We have some good financial foundations to draw on and give us a little bit of comfort. So as we work through this, so we've got some resources that we can use to make sure we're stable. But I will say, it's interesting. I sat on a panel yesterday at the passenger rail meeting summit, and next to me on our panel was Darren Kettle from Metrolink down in LA, and they, his message, it was tough for the room to hear, but was very much a fiscal cliff, similar to what we've heard here in the Bay Area. And so, there are structural issues within the industry that we're not immune to, and so we're gonna have to work to address that for sure. We'll feel it this year, but really this is, in my view, this is a multi-year process of us doing those things we talked about in the strategic plan, which is trying to diversify our funding, continuing to drive efficiency, and always keeping in mind, and we've said this as we walk through the capital stuff, putting that service delivery and those things, in that first area of the goals, top of mind, so that, if we aren't able to meet what we need to meet, that service piece, we do everything we can to maintain the service levels.
And then the second question is competitiveness and of the grants. So then what makes us, shine? I mean, the competitiveness here is great, but again, how do you bring that forward to compete against other agencies that are fighting for that same amount of money?
Yeah, and that is the stakeholder engagement piece. That is us really articulating the value we bring to all of the regions we touch and all of the things that we do. So a lot of what you heard today, taking that show on the road and saying, here's the value we're providing. This agency sits in a really interesting place in that not only does it do a lot of things that you've heard about today, we also connect to a lot of other services and touch a lot of things, right? You think about our connections north of Sacramento, Tri-Valley area, we stay down in the south, like we are, really at the center of a lot of things. And so part of our challenge is to articulate and demonstrate the importance of that and the role we play, not only in our region here at home, but really throughout the state. When you put up, I made this point yesterday, when you put up our service map for the ACE, and you include the Gold Runner, and you include the throughway bus system. Our service map is the state of California. Like, it's not a little picture of California, it is the state of California, so we are doing a lot. And so we need to, we need to tell that story, and we need to get others to help support that.
I have a comment. If you don't mind. So on the safety component, I really appreciated that you included in there human trafficking awareness. To your point, our service map is the state of California, and traffickers are able to take their victims anywhere within the state within an hour or two's ride. So the human trafficking awareness portion of this, my question is, are you working with organizations to help maximize that training awareness to the staff? Without permission, Stop Human Trafficking is another organization here, that's near and dear. Are you working with them to make sure that we're really maximizing that awareness?
Yeah, I'll let Nathan explain the program, but yeah.
Yeah, so we've worked within the past year with the Family Justice Center here in Stockton, and there is a task force in San Joaquin County that deals with human trafficking. And so they've done presentations for us and trainings for us to really articulate what we see in our local area and how that does extend throughout the state, how to identify those people that are being trafficked and how to approach them. So yes, we do partner with some of those agencies here locally.
And then do we have anything within the trains that shows the national hotline number? If you need help, dial this. If you need help, use this code word to a staff member. Do we have any of that on display?
We recently added signage on board the trains that do just what you explained, and as well as our stations.
How visible are they?
I believe they're pretty visible. They're pretty large signs. I can't remember the exact signing, but we can get you some pictures of
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so I just wanted to make a comment that I really appreciate that there's some effort going into this. We've been really trying to get this hard in Manteca. I've been working with the coordinator with one of the agencies that I mentioned. And, unfortunately, it's very prevalent in our area, and teaching the parents what to look for, teaching the kids what to look for, and our staff is going to be paramount in making sure that we can eradicate it. Thank you.
I just have one last comment. So did I see correctly? We're at 985,000 riders, something like that. So Adele, I want to know what you're gonna do for the millionth rider. We did that number and keep that in your.
Yeah, training ratio.
Oh, there you go. Okay, that's handy. Okay, I told him.
Still the thunder.
I want a model train that is an ace train or a little red train or whatever it is that we can present, because, I think that's a great way to establish us and brand us and say how unique we are. So, and then if we could ever produce us in enough, quantity to sell them and bring in revenue for the track program, whatever it takes. But at any rate, with that, I think that was an informational piece only, and I don't see any questions from anyone online. Do we have any public comment? Online, I'm sorry.
Seeing none online.
And any public comment from me? Yeah, all right. So we will move on to the next item. Thank you all very much. Yeah. We've already excused.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm going to do my best Marcus Cook impression and say, now we are at the dessert portion of this program. No offense to the previous speakers at all. My name is Adele Mid. I'm the public relations manager for the Rail Commission. My pleasure to present our update on our marketing and outreach efforts for our ACE service today. And before I invite my colleague Christina Winter, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of the work that the passenger experience and marketing team does, a little bit of a refresher. We currently have a team of 10 individuals with a wide range of responsibilities, as you can see on this slide. While each of us does focus on kind of particular areas within the department, we do work as a unit to support both our Gold Runner and our ACE services. A core part of our work is to ensure that we do everything we possibly can to engage with
community, get folks aware and understanding of our services and get people on the train. That means staying active and visible in our communities. And there's a large emphasis for the entire team, regardless of role, to constantly engage with stakeholders as well as current and potential future passengers as well. I had to include a map in here as well. And so this is a semi-new map, but what this highlights is to what Chris mentioned. We have a huge service area, pretty much the entire state of California. That means we have to be everywhere. And when we are between our rail and our bus services, that means that at any given day, one of our staff members that is at a different part of the state, pushing and highlighting our service to that community. With such a broad footprint, staying connected with all our communities can be viewed as a challenge. However, thanks to the support of this board, we built a strong and effective outreach network with our external teams. This map does illustrate kind of our different outreach teams and kind of their designated areas. For the purpose of this presentation, I want to look at that yellow kind of portion. Our partners at Winter that focus a lot on the Bay Area, the Greater Bay Area. They do both work for the ACE and the Gold Runner service, but this presentation will be focused on our ACE service for this board. And then we will have updates for you from our other areas at future board meetings. With that said, it's my pleasure to introduce Christina from Winter, that she'll kind of run through some of the activities we do.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm excited to share about Winter's contributions to ACE's marketing and outreach goals for this fiscal year. So my name is Christina. I'm an associate director at Winter, and I've been leading our ACE efforts for about 5 years now. We have a team of 16 people, and the core folks at Winter who work on ACE are pictured on this screen here. My colleague Ivana was meant to present with me this morning, but she fell ill yesterday, so unfortunately can't be here, but she sends her regards. We work with many departments across the ACE team. We work with marketing, community outreach, passenger experience, ticketing, connecting services, among many others. I think we've worked with most staff at the Rail Commission. And here I want to share just kind of a high level overview of the things that we're focusing on this fiscal year. So on the left are ACE's marketing plan objectives for this fiscal year, with a couple of the main focuses being employer outreach and passenger appreciation. And on the right, you can see the main areas where Winter is helping to contribute to those objectives, namely the employer and stakeholder relationship development, rider advisory group, passenger appreciation, and continuing to build strong university relationships. So our meeting today is going to focus specifically on these three main areas: the rider advisory group, passenger appreciation, and the stakeholder relationship development. So starting with the rider advisory group, this fiscal year, ACE resurfaced a new iteration of the rider advisory group, led on the ACE side by Carmen Setnes and supported by Linda, Mariah, and others. And this group serves to get real-time opinions and feedback about anything and everything related to the ACE service, with the goal to improve the passenger experience and service. The group is made up of 6 commuters, spanning across ACE's service area, and we even have a super commuter from Manteca, and have some multimodal riders as well who like to ride their bike to the train and then ride their bike to work as well. This year, we've held 2 feedback meetings. We've also requested a feedback through a short survey, and we've raised their media involvement with the SF Chronicle as well. That happened a few months ago, and it's very exciting. They also were very excited to receive some exclusive ACE merch. So far, we've touched on these topics you can see here on the ticketing app, on how we give out text alerts and newsletters, station safety, as we were just talking about, onboard rider experience, passenger appreciation, employer outreach. So we really talk about a whole span of topics, and it's really helpful to get the real-time feedback as longtime ACE riders. The current advisory group members are also supporting ACE's presence at the upcoming Arctic Wood Rail Fair that's taking place in Fremont on Memorial Day. So if you're around that day, we'd love to see you all. And if there's anything that we learned with this group, it's that these ACE riders are just as committed and passionate about the ACE service as ACE staff are. Now let's talk about passenger appreciation. This has been another big area that ACE and Winter have been collaborating on this last year, now under the leadership of Marissa Cavusas. So we typically coordinate logistics with ACE staff. We order food, get coffee, get all our merch together, and we help greet passengers at the station. You can see a snippet from a recent event at the ACE Pleasanton station. And yes, those people are genuinely smiling at 7 a.m. because they received some free goodies and coffee. And coming up, Winter is supporting ACE's partnership with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. They're having Energizer stations throughout the Silicon Valley area. We're going to have an ACE branded Energizer station cheering people on as they bike to work after getting off the ACE train. And that's coming up just in a couple weeks. We're also planning another passenger appreciation event sometime in the next few months, so be on the lookout. So now we're going to talk about the bulk of the work that ACE and Winter work together on, which is stakeholder relationships. So we started off the fiscal year continuing previous work with outreach to various audiences and stakeholders, including leisure travelers, colleges, community organizations, and employers. And early into the year, ACE asked us to really center our work more on relationship building with employers, especially with many businesses in Silicon Valley having return to work policies. So we wanted to really capitalize on that momentum. And for context, we help manage a contact database of over 600 businesses and organizations. And this year, for the purposes of employer outreach, we've already reached out to over 100 companies this year. And I'll share upcoming how that outreach has been going. So through this outreach, we hope to increase awareness and with the goal to increase ACE ridership by sharing knowledge about ACE with employers to encourage their employees to try out ACE as a commute option. We engage with major employers in the Tri-Valley, the East Bay, and the South Bay. And we work really closely with ACE staff to secure contacts at companies and facilitate meetings to educate them about ACE's service, about the discounts they have, about how convenient the service is. And we also learn about the businesses' transportation needs and goals, and then figure out how ACE can help those businesses reach those goals. Lastly, we share a whole breadth of ACE marketing materials with them, whether it's on, general ACE informational flyers, whether it's on CAP, whether it's on Track C. So we kind of have all of the toolkits available, and so we share them as relevant. So this is how we've been categorizing our employer relationships to date. So we currently have 63 companies we've categorized as cold, which means we've outreached them, but not yet heard back from them after a few attempts. So, that's where we have to get creative of, reaching them another way. We also have 5 warm and 19 hot, meaning we've either, set up a meeting or had one meeting. We've kind of started, building that relationship. And then we have 21 companies that we categorize as fire. And this means we've either had a series of meetings with them, we've tabled on site, or we've seen that they've been sharing ACE information with their employees through different microsites or newsletters or posted throughout their buildings. And so I wanted to share a snapshot of some recent activities. I know the print is small, but this is just how many meetings we've had in the last month. We have a similar length list for each of the prior months. So you'll see a whole mixture of business meetings. You'll also see some chamber meetings sprinkled in there, and some of our transit partners as well. And each of those meetings have helped serve us to connect to businesses. And at a recent event, I was lucky enough to be joined by yours truly, Marcus Cook, at Amazon's Return to Office event. And it was great to connect directly with, enthusiastic Amazon employees, several of which, lived along ACE's route, had never heard of the service. And you could see like the light bulb go off. Wow, I can, avoid the traffic. So it's really great to make those, in-person, firsthand connections. And also pictured our logos at the many businesses that we have hot and fire relationships with. And building off of that, in addition to all of the virtual meetings that we've been having with businesses, we've also been on site many times connecting directly with our company contacts and employees. Many of these companies, as I mentioned, have only just started to enforce return to office and in-person work. So we really timed our outreach and events really perfectly, as employees are sometimes begrudgingly coming to us and like, okay, I have to figure out how to get to work a little bit more easily. And so we can go in and offer the solution of ACE. We'd also like to highlight the networks offered by business parks and developers who help us to connect to their own employees, but also to their network of other businesses as well. So here's just a snapshot of a few of the business parks in the Tri-Valley and South Bay that we've been developing really strong relationships with. Next, I wanted to share that, you know, as I mentioned, sometimes it's hard to get in contact, especially with these large businesses, if you don't have an in. So we really harness our other partners like chambers or other organizations that help us create those direct connections. We want to highlight the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. They've been a really wonderful partner. They've given us several personalized email introductions to their contacts at large businesses in Silicon Valley that have led to now having strong relationships with them. And pictured here is yours truly, Dave Sproul, and my colleague Ivana with Dublin Mayor Sherry Hu at the Dublin Chamber of State of the City last year, where we were able to make contact with several local businesses. And throughout all of this work, we've been identifying ACE champions who can help us to promote ACE, both with their friends and family, but also within their businesses. They help us to connect to their network. And, you know, we can keep them in mind for future times when we might need a strong testimonial to help us support our efforts. And so listed here are just some of the relationships at some large businesses that we have really strong relationships that we know we have ACE champions at. And pictured here are friends Joy and Stephanie at Intel. They've been at Intel for a really long time and also been writing ACE for over 20 years. And they've been really wonderful partners in helping us to spread the word about ACE throughout their company and invited us to table on site as well. And thank you all so much for your continued partnership and open to any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from commission members online or here?
We have no more commission members on.
Okay, down. Just one comment, universities, colleges, trade schools, business schools, obviously not just students, but faculty benefits. So are we doing that similar outreach to those institutions?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So we have, you know, ACE has the student rider or staff and student discount with Santa Clara, San Jose, and at Las Positas College. So we have really strong relationships at those colleges and make sure that they always have up-to-date information about ACE, and we're there every year tabling at their resource fairs, connecting directly with staff and students, and, you know, sharing new information as it comes. So I would say those are our top 3 schools that we have strong relationships with, but we also reach out to other, you know, major schools and institutions along the corridor as well.
I would add that discussion happens with our team attorney as well. We always look for ways to identify whether it's educational institutions or other organizations. So kind of a constant like brainstorming and ideas of where we need to take action.
No other questions?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, ladies.
Well, no, I'm just kind of curious as to the companies. You know, we have relationships with lots of people as well, and seeing that cold. Some of them, maybe they're not worth our time to continue to pursue that. But the rest, I mean, we definitely want to make sure that we build those relationships, and I appreciate the effort that you put forward to it. But like I said, you know, we would love to help in any way we can.
We always appreciate your board support. I know we have a bunch of direct line of communication, whether it's with Chris, David, myself, and you know, we've been having partnerships based on some feedback. So any ideas you guys may have, or any businesses here or in the greater area, please let us know. We're happy to engage with them.
Thank you.
My question is, so the gold runner, did you include that in possibilities or just ACE? And And the new areas is how are you doing new areas to get those people involved more?
So the Gold Runner, Winters has kind of two teams internally. Christina handles leads the ACE effort. The Gold Runner is handled by another gentleman by the name of Christian, and he's actually doing his presentation at our Gold Runner meeting next month. But there is a lot of areas of collaboration, but we appreciate Winters having focus on individual services because they have different, folks that are using the service for different reasons, and so. And then you talk about new areas up into new service areas.
Yeah.
And so we did, we've had a long-term partner on the Gold Runner side called K3, and they've been helping us do outreach. Recently, we brought them on board to help us with outreach for both the ACE and the Valley Rail program. And so here in the next several months, we will be both talking to stakeholders, as Chris mentioned, talking about Valley Rail, but also talking to the general public about the benefits of our new service. So that plan is actively being discussed, and there's a lot of discussion between the leadership group as well. And we hope to finalize that in the next several weeks, and then we'll be engaging in that community.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we can then, public comment. See, any public comment in the room? Come in the room, so we'll move on for number of comments. I would just make one note, I will not be at One Voice this year. I'll be advocating in the district instead, but I think most of our rail commission members will be at One Voice, so I would just be mindful for everyone to think about advocating for the rail commission's projects, which obviously Stockton is one of them, but as much as for the projects and the communities we represent. So just being aware that we wear many hats, and I certainly value your advocacy on behalf of the rail commission. So any other board member comments?
Yeah, just two things. I will not be here for the June 5th meeting, so I wanted to let that be known. And also, I know ACE, RTD will be at our May 20th State of the City, but just wanted to let everybody know it will be at the arena 10 to 2. We're doing something a little different this year. Did something different last year. It's always kind of evolving, but I promise to have you out before 2 o'clock. Might be 1:30.
Okay, nobody in mind, so we'll go to the ex officio comments. So Mayor Smallin, you want to kick us off here?
All right, thank you for all these really valuable reports. It was really great information. We had our State of the City, which was very exciting. Probably some of the most important news was that we had 0 homicides in the city of Modesto in 2025. So I'm glad to hear anything related to public safety. That's obviously a priority. Regarding transportation, Amber Collins, our new executive director, is meeting with all of our policy board members and city managers and working to develop those relationships so that we can make some headway going forward soon. So the one thing that I'm always interested in is any commuter ridership information, since we know that we have tens of thousands of people that commute from the Central Valley to the Bay Area for work. So it would always be good to get a little information about that, but we can do that at another time. So thank you, that's it.
Mayor Smallin, are you asking for Modesto commuters or just?
I just think that in any of that information, it's certainly a group to tap into for ridership, since it got me thinking with marketing and all the things that we're doing. That's massive amount of people that could benefit from these services. So just a comment, but I'm sure down the road we'll get reports. Thank you very much.
I'm sure our CEO will know that. Then moving on, do we have anyone from SJRRC? SJRRC and Caltrans? And before I go to Mr. Baxter, anyone from Caltrans? No. Mr. Baxter, take the podium. That's very wise.
Secret. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, commissioners and everyone else in the room. I just have to add that's 2 p.m. not a.m. So And I have to add, the flower, the pinwheel, I was thinking it's getting more, so how about a minivan? So, I'm sorry, I just had to speak up. So, my name is Ken Baxter. I'm with San Joaquin Regional Transit District, and it's really an honor for me here to be here in person today to make a very special announcement and an invitation to share some words. And I just want to share that on April the 17th, 2026, the Board of Directors for the San Joaquin Regional Transit District announced the appointment of Bernard Beasley as our interim Chief Executive Officer of RTD effective immediately. Bernard is a military veteran who has served his country and brings more than 30 years of leadership in transportation operations, logistics, public service. He has managed large, complex transportation systems, delivered results in safety, reliability, and efficiency. Bernard has led transportation operations across multiple large school districts at Stockton Unified School District, for an example. And I just might add, when I retired after 41 years of state public service, one of the post-retirement jobs I had was to be a sub-teacher for Stockton Unified School District. Very demanding job. Okay, through high school. It was interesting. I loved it. So we have that connection here. He oversaw service, apologize for my throat. He oversaw service of more than 36,000 students and managed a 150 bus fleet and workforce. He also led operations in Simi Valley Unified and McKenzie County School District, managing fleet performance, compliance, budgeting, and service delivery across large geographic areas. In addition to his civilian leadership, Bernard's military service includes large-scale transportation and logistics operations supporting the movement of personnel and equipment across multiple modes of transportation. That's what it's all about, multimodalism, interconnectivity. It is my privilege and my honor to introduce to you Bernard Beasley and to invite him to share a few comments if you would like. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, good morning, Madam Chair and the board. I won't be up here long. I know Ken told me I only had 4 hours. 4 hours, so I'm gonna cut this short. You know what I mean? So we don't need to put the slides up. But it's, as you said, when I was in the military, I was at the Pentagon, and I worked at the Pentagon I was tapped by General Napoleon Powell, and we compiled all the logistics. So when I hear logistics, my eyes jump up, because I move all kinds, trains, planes, everything. That's what I used to move around because we had all that in the government. So it's interesting to come here and see. I'm like, gracious, this is heavy. So I'm sitting there like, man, I like this already. I only been in the seat 4 days, and I'm loving it. I want to let you know that I'm completely embedded in helping anything that has something to do with the rail commission or anything that has something to do with any city that within San Joaquin County, and more so the mayor in this vision. I'm here to support the vision of the leaders of those departments. I won't create any vision of my own. I'm here as a support service, and that's what I want to continue to be. I don't know what it was beforehand, but I'm a support service. I support the citizens of this town and the county, and I will be doing nothing that I like to do other than what they like to do. So you will never see me go out there and do anything that I like to do. It'll always be what the people like to do. So with that, I'll take you. I have a question.
Well, I think we have to sit down with our CEO yet. I anticipate that's coming soon, and we serve him in some respect because he serves our residents and our commuters and our passengers. So you'll get to hear a lot from him and his staff down the road. So we welcome you, Mr. Baxter. I'm glad you have someone to work with.
Thank you.
And congratulate our TV for bringing.
Thank you.
And good answer, because there's been a little bit of tension. So your little spiel there works.
Bring that humor. Okay, so that's it for our ex officio members. We have a report from our CEO.
Yeah, we really briefly had a VP agenda today, so I'll try to keep it short. So first of all, we have a new team member, so I'll ask the department to introduce our team member.
As sort of you saw, like in the work program presentation, there's a lot happening here at the Rail Commission. We're continuing to grow and expand. One of the things that is really a need for us as an agency is to continue to grow our like data and analytics team to give you all the reports and all of the updates and all the forecasts that you're looking for, that the public's looking for, that really drives forward. So we're happy to announce that Dylan Ireland has joined the team. He is our new transportation research analyst. So as you see graphs and charts and things that come into your work program, into your board items, Dylan and Chad will continue to produce those for you. So we're happy to have them join the team. Thank you, Dylan.
Two other quick things I mentioned in my remarks earlier, the California Passenger Rail Summit, I'll get the name right, was a mouthful earlier. But wanted to note that not only did we attend, we had several of our team members on panels, which is great, showing that we have a really strong statewide voice. So there for that. And then more important than that, our team actually helped put on the event this year. So we were very engaged in putting that statewide event together. I was there part of the day yesterday, really well attended, really good showing, and our team was leaders in doing that statewide. So really good to have our folks sort of represented, within the whole industry in the state. So that wanted to note that, and then also on the chairs, piggyback on the chairs note about One Voice. We'll be at One Voice next week in Washington D.C. I'm happy to attend that. Appreciate the work that SJRRC put in to make it happen. It's a big endeavor. A lot of people move. I appreciate the commissioners who will be attending. We have talking points for you, so we will be providing you some background information about the project that we're putting forward about the agency, and then happy to support you while you're there, and whatever you need, so please let us know, and then we make sure you have the information we can make this so this is successful. So with that,
Please make sure your chairs are too, because I'll use.
yes, yes.
That's it then. I'm going to actually move us into close session.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We had two items listed, agenda items 12 and 13. Item 13, which concerned the acquisition for the Midtown Station Sacramento, will be continued until June 5th. But item 12 we will proceed with, and that is pending litigation. One case, Manuela Swanson versus the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, and it is in Alameda County Superior Court. And with that, we are adjourned to closed session.
Yeah.
Watching the clock and then.
Yeah.
Trying to hurry someone.
City manager.
One item, item 12, which was the pending litigations, and that was a discussion with the commission. Direction has been given, and at this time, there is no other reportable action.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting of the Rail Commission at what time?
10:30.
10:30. Okay, thank you.
Is it still out?
Oh, yeah.